This is my granddaughter, and she's going to open the show for you today.
When you're starting your tomatoes, I'm going to show you a little jar terrarium. That's just a little plastic cup. They work great, by the way, or you can just grow them in a plastic cup. After it gets its third leaf, you want to transplant it into the next size, okay? Your tomatoes will grow successfully. Like this is actually not quite a gallon size container, and if you have a gallon size, just a little bit more is best for one tomato, and it'll do really great. You want to bury it 3/4 up the neck. So if it's this tall, you want to bury it all the way deep except for about this much left out. And the reason why you want to do that is because that's how you get that nice thick stalk. If you don't do it, it's going to go boom, it's going to fall over. And the reason why is because tomatoes are a vine, and they naturally in the wild grow on the ground. They crawl on the ground, they crawl over the clumps of grass, and they're not really trellised. And another thing too is that, like, one year we didn't have any tomatoes because there were no bees and the weather was just horrid. There was no heat for the bees. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I just cut all the strings off and just let those vines run right on the ground like they do in the wild. And the ants and the bugs and everything else that was creepy and crawling pollinated my tomatoes, and I had the best growing tomatoes I'd ever had. So if you don't have bees, let them somehow get those vines on the ground for a little bit to get those bugs started. And once those bugs find out that they can pollinate your tomato plants, then tie your vines up and they'll crawl back up. But you don't want your tomato predators though, okay? And you usually get those because you haven't rotated your crops. It means that you shouldn't plant your tomatoes in the same place every year, okay? All right. Oh yeah, one more thing. Cherry tomatoes, you get early tomatoes. Romas, you get early. They come after the cherries. Beefsteaks and large heirlooms, they do not ripen up until usually the last part of August and sometimes into October. And people are so disappointed because they don't get any tomatoes. But we're all going to get tomatoes this year, right? Because we're going to plant them now. And we'll be ready and we'll understand what we're doing to grow tomatoes. Okay, so let's get busy. It's about 7.5. This means that it's a little bit too alkaline, so I'm going to have to add some peat moss to my soil when I transfer it into this garden soil. So I need some correction. So I dug up my garden soil in that one spot because I'm going to use the same soil. I'm going to put it into the garden in that particular area. And I added peat moss level, so it is about 6.8. And this is my mixture, 1 part sand, 1 part peat moss, 1 part perlite, and 1 part my organic soil. But remember, your soil may have a high sodium content, so you need to check your pH to make sure you fall into the normal balance for optimal vegetable or fruit growing. And the chart is located on the end of my film. So I'm growing something very special. I'm growing these chocolate cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to put 3 seeds in each one. Whenever you handle seeds, you don't want any cold cream or hand cream on your skin because that can prevent germination. And tomato seeds come up very quickly. They're very fragile in the beginning, but make sure you have direct light over the top of them so they grow straight. I'm going to put 3 in each one. The reason that I like to use heirloom seeds is because I can save my seeds after my harvest is finished, and I can grow more that are identical. A lot of times if you try to save your seeds from a hybrid, you'll get the original start or some other that you weren't really ready for. Cover your seeds with about a 1/4 cup of soil. You just want them covered about 1/4 inch. Moisten it with about a 1/4 cup. You don't want your seeds to ever float. You don't want your seeds to rot. You want them to germinate. This is rainwater. You can use water that's been purified. Make a greenhouse. Take a pair of scissors and cut down the pot about 1 inch. 5 places. And when you squeeze it, this will collapse upon itself. Get a mason jar. Put it inside. Created a greenhouse. Put a piece of saran wrap over the top. Your lid. And then let your tomatoes germinate. It has plenty of height for the plant to grow up. And this is very easy to get out after they're grown. Fun! Now how did you get that large solo cup inside of a smaller hole? You know how. We did it together just now. Now when your tomatoes are grown, and see the condensation inside, you can take the paper off, the plastic off, and let them grow to their full potential up to here. And then it's really easy to take them out of the pot after they're inside of here. What a perfect little greenhouse for your tomatoes. After your tomatoes grow over the top and you want to transplant them, you just turn this upside down with the larger foliage and the dirt will fall right out of this container. When your tomato grows over the top, it's easy to get out. Because the soil is loose, you can gently just tip it and the whole thing slides right out into your hand. Wasn't that easy? Put it in another pot. Fill the pot up. I cover at least 1/3 of the plant up over the new leaves. Go ahead and move your stem gently around so it is in the center of the pot. At this time, go ahead and fertilize your plant with vegetable fertilizer for tomatoes. There you have it. It will make a healthy heirloom tomato in the future. Water your tomato with some vegetable fertilizer. And this pot here has drains on it. And this will grow very huge. Usually grow 3 to 4 tiers of flowers and then pinch off the top. You can stick the remaining vine again into another pot and it will grow. Very easy to get out. Just reach in. Comes out, no problem. This is a tomato plant I started from propagation. It'll start rooting. I just stuck the branch down inside of this dirt and make sure it's tight around there. And this will root in a few weeks. It's going to continue to grow. And this is what I do when my tomato plants get too large. I can pinch off a vine and just put it right into the same dirt that it's growing in. It should propagate new roots. If it wilts immediately, that means that type of heirloom tomato is not compatible with this type of vine propagation. Look, a little tomato came up in our jar terrarium. And these were seedlings, little tiny ones by my thumb, and in 1 week they grew this big in this jar terrarium. Wonderful. How do you plant a tomato plant? This one we started by just sticking a piece of tomato this big inside this pot and it grew. Vine propagation or seeds. I'm going to bury my tomato up this far. Just some dirt on the bottom. Put the plant in. Now this will allow this stalk to get very, very thick and it'll be healthier, and when it bears fruit, the stems will be strong enough, the vines will be strong enough to support the weight of larger fruit.